Good afternoon to you all. This is the Ambassador with me, your Ambassador Jennifer Makau. And our first story is going to come from Kenya. President William Ruto nominated 4 members of the main opposition party to a broad-based cabinet in response to the protests that have rocked the country. Among the nominees is opposition leader Raila Odinga's ally, that is John Mbadi, who is said to lead the finance ministry. However, objectors have protesters have criticized the new government, calling it a corrupt bargain and accusing Ruto of perpetuating a tradition of co-opting the opposition at the expense of population. The protests, which have been ongoing for 6 weeks, have resulted in over 50 deaths, with some demanding Ruto's resignation and far-reaching reforms to tackle corruption. Here is the report.
President William Ruto has stirred controversy by appointing members of the opposition to his cabinet amid its ongoing protest. Facing a major crisis in his 2-year tenure, justified the move as a part of a visionary partnership for Kenya's future.
I have this to say to Kenyans. I have heard you, and I have heard you clearly.
However, activists and protesters viewed the appointment skeptically, accusing Ruto of forming a coalition to maintain power rather than address public grievances. The demonstrations, which have been marked by clashes with security forces and allegations of excessive force, have claimed over 50 lives. Despite withdrawing proposed tax hikes that initially sparked the protest, calls for Ruto's resignation and comprehensive reforms persist. Meanwhile, opposition leader Raila Odinga's party, the Orange Democratic Movement, distanced itself from any coalition talks with Ruto, emphasizing its commitment to opposition principles. Irene Juguna, GBS News.
Rescue efforts are underway in southern Ethiopia following devastating mudslides that have claimed at least 229 lives, with a toll likely to rise. The disaster struck the Kencho-Sacha Gozi district after heavy rainfall, burying many victims, including young children and pregnant women, while tragically several rescuers are among the deceased. 5 individuals have been rescued alive, but the number of the missing still remains unclear. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed expressed condolences and activated a federal disaster prevention task force to assist the ongoing search and the recovery. The rainy season, which began in July, has heightened the risk of such landslides, underscoring the challenges posed by climate change in the region. In a bold move to combat entrenched gang control in Haiti, a Kenya-led police mission faced a mounting pressure to swiftly deliver the concrete security improvements, according to a security bulletin from the Global Initiative Against the Transformational Organized Crime. The mission to Haiti, supported by the United Nations, aims to tackle armed gangs that have seized control of vast swaths in the Port-au-Prince, where residents live under the shadow of criminal rule. As the mission unfolds, concerns linger over the effectiveness amidst the ongoing challenges and uncertainty surrounding its strategy and engaging the rules. Here is more.
I have your permission to dismiss the quarter guard, please, madam. This Mr. Tieno is in charge of training for the MSS election.
In a a significant shift in its immigration policy, Namibia has announced a new visa requirements for nationals of certain Western countries. This decision comes as a response to what the Namibian government describes as a lack of reciprocity and in diplomatic relations. Namibia is known for its stunning landscapes, enriched in wildlife, attracting thousands of tourists each year. However, the country immigration ministry has expressed concerns that some nations have not reciprocated the goodwill extended to their nationals. Here is more.
A statement from the UK government explained there have been a sustained and a significant increase in the number of asylum applications from Namibians at the UK border since 2016. This constitutes an abuse of provision to visit the UK for a limited period as non-visa nationals. The UK unfortunately imposed a visa regime on Namibia last year due to the number of asylum seekers they were receiving. The report also showed that nearly a third of Africans applying for a visa to the Schengen area were rejected, higher than the global average. Even when visas are approved, African travelers say their experiences at the border security make them feel uncomfortable and unwanted. In 2022, 7 of the top 10 countries with the highest visa rejection rates in the bloc of European countries known as the Schengen area were African, according to consultancy firm Henry & Partners.
A recent clinical trial has shown a groundbreaking advancement in HIV prevention, a twice-yearly injection of lenacapavir, which has achieved 100% efficacy in preventing the new infections among the young women and girls. The results, published in July 24th in the New England Journal of Medicine, involved around 5,000 participants in South Africa and Uganda. The study found that none of the participants receiving lenacapavir contracted HIV, compared to the infection rates of 1.5% and 1.8% among those taking daily prevention pills like Gilead's Truvada and Discovery. HIV affects approximately 1.3 million people annually, with women and girls accounting for 46% of the new infections in 2022, particularly only in Africa.
We know that participants will be quite excited about it, just purely because the injectable versus the pill, we've seen how adherence is not always the greatest when it comes to the pill, purely because of different reasons, time, ability to go and fetch those pills from the clinics. And so with the injectable, and that's twice yearly, this gives a participant more choice.
So the injectable will be really great for the young girls because they will come in like each and every 6 months compared to taking a pill each and every day. So it will be almost like when you come in for your contraception. So for them, it will be really great. It will boost the number of people who are coming in to take the injection, so it will lower the rates of HIV in the community.
In a revelation from the United Nations, a new report has unveiled that approximately 733 million people worldwide face hunger in 2023. Published jointly by the 5 UN agencies, the State of Food and Security Nutrition in the World, that is SOFI report, paints a distressing picture persisting the global food insecurity, highlighting a stark disparities across the continent and calling for urgent action to alleviate the crisis. Thomas Musyoki with the full report.
The report highlights that hunger afflicted 1 out of every 11 individuals worldwide, with an alarming 1 in 5 people in Africa affected, a number that has notably surged on the continent. It emphasizes that around 2.3 billion people globally faced moderate or severe food insecurity in the past year, a figure that has seen little improvement since the peak observed during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. David Laborde, the Director of Agri-Food Economics at the Food and Agriculture Organization, stressed that addressing this crisis hinges on political will and financial commitment.
Today we produce enough food on this planet to feed everyone. So if we want to solve the pollution by 2030, it's technically feasible. It's a political choice, and after it's how much money we are ready to put on the table to solve it.
Despite pockets of progress, the report highlights dire situations exacerbated by ongoing conflicts in regions such as Sudan and the Gaza Strip. Looking ahead, the report predicts that if the current trends persist, approximately 582 million people could face chronic undernourishment by the year 2030, half of whom would be in Africa.
When we talk about food security and nutrition, when we talk about chronic hunger, when we talk about malnutrition, it's not the crisis of today that is at stake. It's the future. Because pregnant women, kids that face malnutrition problem today will pay the price all of their life. So by not solving the problem today, we are basically impoverishing these countries in the future.
The report attributes worsening food insecurity and malnutrition to a complex interplay of factors including persistent food price inflation, conflicts, climate change impacts, and economic downturns. To achieve the Sustainable Development Goal of Zero Hunger, the report advocates for comprehensive strategies such as transforming agri-food systems, addressing inequalities, and ensuring affordable and accessible healthy diets for all. Thomas Musyoki, GBS News.
And that international news brings us to our very first break. We have more lined up for you. Topics you can't afford to miss. Stay tuned with us.
Everywhere, GBS.
My name is Nathaniel Komoni Titus. Jina langu la usanii ni Nathcom Arts. I'm a painting artist, a self-taught painting artist.
It's a very big business in Nairobi.
Sure.
So nini unekanga different, unekanga art yako hapo kwa hiyo bed ama unekanga aje?
What I need for me to do painting on canvas. Yeah, to be precise. He introduced me to doing painting on canvas.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I should what I need for me to do painting on canvas.
Umetuambia your mentor for paintings ni Jose Arts.
Yeah.
Mentor wako wa furniture na wood ni nani?
First of all, I'm a fan of nature. And everything that I paint to do with nature must be something I've experienced.
Oh, okay.
So most of the time when I'm doing any painting to do with nature, huwa na try kuonyesha or maybe to express my experiences.
Utatuonesha pia hiyo clock.
Yeah.
Venye it's really amazing, the clock. Naona unapenda hii woodwork more. I would explain here.
Yes.
Utaambia watu your social media handles kwanza
Okay.
stock pale kidogo.
Kweli.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You are still watching The Ambassador, GBS Global, and we are glad to have you join us today. Now moving on to the matters of the United States. President Joe Biden has announced his decision not to seek re-election, instead passing the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris. He praised her as an incredible partner and a tough, capable leader in a short address from the Oval Office. That was on Wednesday. Alex Mwangi with the full report.
In a significant address from the Oval Office, President Joe Biden discussed his decision to pass the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, highlighting her capabilities and experience. He reflected on his achievements and outlined his plans for the remainder of his term. Biden emphasized that the defense of democracy is paramount, transcending any political title.
So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president.
He warned voters about the threats posed by dictators and stressed the importance of their choices in the upcoming election. As the Democratic Party prepares for a new candidate, Biden expressed gratitude for Harris, calling her a tough and capable leader who has been an incredible partner. He reminded the American people that their power lies in their hands, urging them to preserve democracy for future generations. Alex Mwangi, GBS News.
FBI Director Christopher Wray testified before the House Judiciary Committee on Wednesday regarding the investigation to the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump in Pennsylvania on July 13th. The hearing, originally scheduled routine oversight, focused on the actions of the 20-year-old gunman, that is Thomas Matthew Crooks, and the FBI commitment to thoroughly investigate the incident. Here is the full report.
FBI Director Christopher Wray testified before the House Judiciary Committee yesterday. He provided the most detailed comments to date about the FBI's investigation into the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th. Wray stated the FBI would leave no stone unturned in its probe of the 20-year-old gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks, whose actions marked the most serious attempt to assassinate a president or candidate since President Reagan was shot in 1981.
Said from the beginning, the attempted assassination of the former president was an attack on our democracy and our democratic process, and we will not and do not tolerate political violence of any kind, especially a despicable account of this magnitude. And I want to assure you and the American people that the men and women of the FBI will continue to work tirelessly to get to the bottom of what happened.
Despite being appointed by Trump, Wray faced antagonistic questions from the Republican-led committee, reflecting lingering discontent over the FBI's Russia investigation. The hearing, originally scheduled for routine oversight, was dominated by questions about the shooting, which killed one rallygoer, seriously injured two others, and left Trump with a minor ear injury. Wray revealed the gunman had searched online for details about the JFK assassination and had photos of Trump, Biden, and other officials on his phone. Alex Mwangi, GBS News.
Now let us check more on the matters of the United States. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever returned home after a long day? Then you kick back and turn on your television, but you can't find or decide what to watch. Well, we've all been there. So let me give you a suggestion. Just watch the United States election cycle. Forget the Game of Thrones. Forget the Succession. This is the real deal. Just look at the storyline. Donald Trump got shot, Joe Biden drops out, Kamala Harris took over, and now Republicans say Biden is dead. That is enough material for 10 seasons. But in the United States, it just happened 10 to 11 days on the campaign trail. And now let us look at the latest episode, which is Kamala Harris, who is now gaining the momentum. She has been reaching out to the Democratic delegates. All of them had promised to support Biden. So Harris needs to sway them. And let us look at what she has been doing lately. Listen in.
I am told as of this morning that we have earned the support of enough delegates to secure the Democratic nomination. And I pledge to you, I will spend the coming weeks continuing to unite our party so that we are ready to win in November. The best 24 hours of grassroots fundraising in presidential campaign history. So as Leah told you, before I was elected vice president, before I was elected United States,
You need 1,976 delegates to snatch the party nomination. Kamala Harris now has more than 2,600. And the next step is the convention. It is scheduled for the 19th of August in Chicago. And if these numbers hold, Kamala Harris will be the next nominee. Talk about a swift turnaround. Biden dropped out on Sunday and Harris has hit the target on Tuesday. The question is how? A, it is because she has been Biden's endorsement. The delegates had an easy choice. And B, because the party is elite. More and more top Democrats are endorsing Kamala Harris. The latest is Nancy Pelosi. She is a former Speaker of the United States House and also a very powerful figure in the Democratic party. So the nomination now won't be a problem for Kamala Harris because it's already in the bag. Which brings us to the election. Can she beat Donald Trump? On Monday, Harris spoke at the Democratic campaign office, her first campaign speech after taking over from Biden, and everyone was looking out for her clues. And of course, they got one. Harris went after Trump's criminal record. Listen in.
I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California, and before that I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. So Donald Trump is relying on support from billionaires and big corporations. And he is trading access in exchange for campaign contributions. Donald Trump wants to take our country backward. He and his extreme Project 2025 agenda will weaken the middle class. Like, we know we got to take this seriously. Can you believe they put that thing in writing?
So Harris has revealed her hand. It was really a no-brainer. Kamala Harris used to serve as a prosecutor. Donald Trump is a convicted felon. It is a strategy that writes itself. But strategy alone does not win elections. For that, you need money and support. For the first one, which is money, does not seem to be a problem for Kamala Harris. She has inherited Biden's war chest. Plus, she is now on a fund-raising spree. Guess how much money she has raised since Sunday? More than $100 million. So clearly, Democratic supporters are enthusiastic and our celebrities are joining in. Like Spike Lee, John Legend, Mike Hamill, Candy B, Viola Davis, and Mark Ruffalo. Now, Hollywood support could be the key for Harris. They are often called an ATM for the Democrats, but more importantly, they could add a momentum to the campaign. You see, Trump has been campaigning since last year. Kamala Harris has only less than 100 days left. She has a lot of ground to cover, less than 100 days. Enter the celebrity supporters, and the message is amplified. The Harris campaign now knows this. On Sunday, British pop star, that is Charlie XCX, endorsed Harris, and she did this in a very weird way by writing Harris is Brat. Now, Brad doesn't mean what you think here. It is the name of Charlie's hit album. So she was actually endorsing Harris. That post has gotten 48 million views on X and is been liked more than 300 times. So the campaign immediately launched on it. They fully embraced the brag tag. What does that mean? What does the tag mean when it means the endorsement? Someone who doesn't fit the typical gender stereotype, someone who doesn't honest and be blunt, someone who likes to petty and also often messy, sort of like a good and a rebel. So you see why Kamala Harris is embracing this message. Neither Trump nor Biden could connect to young voters, but Harris can. So she's going on with the pop culture. What about the other side? The primary message from Trump and Vance. It is this: Biden was bad, Harris will be worse. Listen to the video they made.
Now, history will remember Joe Biden as not just a quitter, which he is, but one of the worst presidents of the United States of America. But my friends, Kamala Harris is 1,000,000 times worse, and everybody knows it.
There is a parallel campaign too, a lot of sexism, racism, and conspiracies. Theories that J.D. Vance is part of it too. An old video of his has been going on taking the viral. Vance can be heard calling Harris a childless cat lady. Listen to this.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
Of course, this is a bitter campaign, so things can get really ugly. But attacking someone's gender or race is just pathetic. Harris wasn't exactly a popular vice president. Her track record is also questionable. So why not focus on that? Plus, queries came on what with all these conspiracy theories. And the latest one was Joe Biden is dead. A lot of Republicans were publishing this theory. And why? Because he hasn't been seen since the weekend. Well, I admit it is strange because as a US president, you cannot go missing for days. You must make appearances, especially after dropping a bombshell of decision. But common sense says Biden is not dead. In fact, Biden joined Harris' campaign event and on a phone call. Listen to this.
So good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. So do we. And we do. Everybody here does.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe. Oh.
Exciting for the neutrals, not so much for the Americans. This is definitely shaping up to be a great fight. We cannot wait for the result, or should I say, the series finale. Listen to this.
And so today, just right after Joe made his announcement, it was important for me to continue with his role of leadership in this office, of like him, who has said for many, many, many months, and I say it today, thank you all so very much for what you are doing and what you will continue to do. So let's applaud the team. And I know it's been a roller coaster, and we're all filled with so many mixed emotions about this. I just have to say, I love Joe Biden. I love Joe Biden, and I know we all do, and we have so many darn good reasons for loving Joe Biden. And I have full faith that this team will be the reason we win in November. You all who are here. And as Julie always says, and I will quote the great Julie, we are one team, one fight. One team, one fight. And so over the next 106 days, we are going to take our case to the American people, and we are going to win. We are going to win. And so now I'm getting back to you, Joe. I will tell you all, it has been one of the greatest honors of my life, truly, to serve as vice president to our president, Joe Biden. Joe got the COVID-19 pandemic under control. Remember those days? He has created more than 15 million new jobs. He brought together Republicans and Democrats and passed historic legislation. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a first-hand witness to all this work.
Well, we'll keep you more updated as the episodes keep unfolding. Now moving on to the matters of Israel. Dozens of demonstrators gathered in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday to protest against Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the United States Capitol, where he addressed a joint session of Congress. The protests were fulfilled by the widespread of the outrage over Israel's ongoing military actions in Gaza, which have reportedly resulted in over 39,000 Palestinian deaths. Paris Kigo with a full report.
The Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
Overnight, hundreds of protesters organized by a Jewish group staged at a seat at a congressional office building, crying, "Not in our name." The Prime Minister was greeted by the Republican House Speaker, Mike Johnson, as he arrived in the afternoon at the Capitol for a speech arranged weeks ago and instigated by the Speaker. Carrying posters was saying, "Wanted war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu." Protesters demanded the Prime Minister arrest as requested by the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor in May. One protester who traveled from Maryland to take part in the demonstration said it was important to show that not all U.S. citizens support the government policies toward Israel.
I think it's important to show a visual representation that the American citizens don't support the policies of our upper class. They don't support the policies of our elected officials. We are in a rogue kind of administration that are disconnected from the people. So I think it's important to come out and show the world that the American people, our policies are not popular with the American people. If that makes sense.
I think people are angry. I think people are sorrowful. I think people are rageful that the United States government has the gall, after months and months of genocide, not to hold Benjamin Netanyahu accountable, but to continue to roll out the red carpet for him.
Inside Congress, dozens of high-profile Democratic lawmakers decided not to attend Netanyahu's speech, expressing their dismay over the civilians' deaths and humanitarian crisis as a result of Israel's military campaign in Gaza. Peris Kego, GBS News.
Wildfires have reached Jasper National Park in Canada, prompting the evacuation of 25,000 residents and tourists as firefighters work to protect critical infrastructure, including the Trans Mountain Pipeline. The fires, fueled by the unfavorable conditions, have caused significant damage, with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau mobilizing federal resources to combat the crisis. Here's a report.
In a critical situation, wildfires have reached Jasper National Park in Canada, prompting urgent evacuation efforts for approximately 25,000 residents and tourists. Firefighters are focused on protecting key infrastructure, including the Trans Mountain Pipelines, as flames advance from both the north and south. The park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, has reported significant damage, but the full extent remains unclear. Prime Minister Justin announced the mobilization of federal resources, including the Canadian Armed Forces, to assist in firefighting efforts. As air quality deteriorates, officials anticipate rainfall that may provide some relief, but the situation remains dire, with over 170 wildfires burning across Alberta. Alex Mwangi, GBS News.
Kenya farmers are grappling with the declining soil fertility as they move away from the industrial farming methods due to concerns over acidity. This shift is also being driven by the detrimental effects of chemical fertilizers on agricultural lands across the country. Irene Njuguna with the full report.
Kenya agricultural practices are undergoing a significant transformation as farmers increasingly abandon industrial methods in response to soil degradation. Benson Onjola, a farmer on the outskirts of Nairobi, has experienced firsthand the impact of acidic soil on his crops. Once driving on a 10-acre farm in western Kenya, Onjola's maize yields drastically declined over the years, prompting his move to vegetable farming near Nairobi. However, even here, he faces challenges as he suspects inorganic fertilizers are further depleting soil quality.
I was advised to apply manure, but I wasn't keeping cows at the time. Since I was wondering why the yield had reduced, I decided to move to Nairobi and start farming vegetables. My vegetable yield also began to decrease, and I suspect it is due to the increased amount of chemicals in the soil.
Experts like Priscilla Wakarera from the Soil Health Management Company, REA, emphasize the detrimental effects of overusing chemical fertilizers.
The farmers that are using chemical fertilizers now are maybe 2 generations into using chemical fertilizers, and before they weren't using it. So they don't have the data that would then inform them on how to use them. And who brings the chemical fertilizers? It's the companies that sell them. So their agenda is to push as much chemical fertilizers for sale.
The issue of soil degradation is not unique to Kenya. Across Africa, agricultural productivity is threatened by soil acidity, impacting staple crops and exports alike. As countries grapple with these challenges, this is a growing call for policy support and investment in sustainable agriculture to ensure food security and environmental stewardship for future generations. Irene Njuguna, GBS News.
General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, leader of the Sudan Rapid Support Forces, has announced plans to attend ceasefire talks in Switzerland next month, aimed at ending the 15 months of intense fighting between the paramilitary rapid group and the Sudanese army. The talks, organized by the United States and Saudi Arabia, came amidst dreadful humanitarian crisis in Sudan, with millions displaced and widespread allegations of violence, uncertainty remaining over whether the army, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, will join in the negotiations. Thomas Musyoki with the report.
The U.S. State Department highlighted the importance of the ceasefire talks, emphasizing military solution to Sudan's internal strife. Matthew Miller, a spokesperson for the department, stated convening these national ceasefire talks, backed by key international stakeholders, is essential to ending the conflict in Sudan. He highlighted the urgent need to prevent the worsening famine and to create conditions for restoring civilian governance.
These are talks that we hope will take place, that will be co-hosted by the United States, the government of Switzerland, and Saudi Arabia. And the goal of these talks is to build on the work that has already taken place in Jeddah and to try to move them to the next phase. We continue to believe there is no military solution to the conflict in Sudan, and we believe that convening these national ceasefire talks and making clear that they are backed by key international stakeholders is the only way to end the conflict in Sudan, to prevent the famine that exists there now from spreading, and to create space to restore the civilian political process.
In his social media post, General Dagalo expressed optimism about the talks, describing them as a potential milestone towards peace and stability in Sudan. He articulated a vision for a new Sudan founded on principles of justice, equality, and federal governance. Scheduled to commence on August 14th at a yet-to-be-disclosed location in Switzerland, these talks come amidst a devastating humanitarian crisis in Sudan. According to the United Nations, the conflict has claimed over 14,000 lives and injured 3,000 others. The conflict has also forced more than 11 million people from their homes, marking one of the world's largest displacement crises. Thomas Musyoki, GBS News.
And that international news brings us to the end of our Ambassador, and it's been wonderful having you on board, joining us to the end. Here at the Ambassador, we continue to bring you the latest updates and the global developments as you keep it locked with us. I've been your Ambassador, Jennifer Macau, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Ambassador tomorrow, same time, same place at 1 p.m. I wish you all the most beautiful afternoon and a wonderful afternoon week ahead. See you all tomorrow and stay safe.
Everywhere, GBS.